Hi everyone, welcome to our webinar, Kiddo for Education Leaders. Thank you so much for joining us today, whether you're watching it live or on replay. So my name is Amanda Derbyshire and I'm the Program Director of Kiddo. And also with me today, we have Julia Andrew, who is our Early Years Program Manager. Now, Kiddo is only made possible thanks to the support for Healthway, so we'd like to acknowledge them today. Um, in the chat, would love you to let us know where you're joining us from today. I know we've got people from all over Australia register: Tasmania, Collie, Muckenbooden, Southwest Sydney, Dunsborough and Perth. So would love to know where you're joining us from. If you did register for the webinar, you will receive a copy of the replay immediately after the finish of the webinar, and we'll also pop a copy of the slides up on our website that you can access as well. Any problems during the webinar, there's a help button in the bottom left-hand corner. And as we go, Julia and I will be manning the chat, so please pop any questions you might have in the chat and we'll try and answer them. We'll also stay on at the end of the webinar to try and answer any of your questions. So today's webinar is for education leaders in early childhood education and care. So if you have any role in programming and planning in early childhood education and care, today's webinar is for you. Before we get into it, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land in which we live, work and play. I'm based in Perth, Western Australia, on the land of the Whadjuk Noongar people, and to all the native people on the lands all around Australia in which we work and live. We pay respect to the elders, past, present and emerging. Today's workshop, we're going to go into a bit of the why for your service. Why does physical literacy matter at your service? Why should you invest your time in programming and planning? And that's really key for you to understand that so that it's worth the effort and putting it into action. Julie's going to take you through practical examples of how to program and plan using Kiddo and then deliver Kiddo's teaching and learning experiences. I'm going to jump across the Kiddo website and do a live demonstration on all the programming and planning tools that are available that make your life easier. And that is our aim with Kiddo, is to support your educators, build their confidence and to make it easier and save time for them. And then we're going to finish with some examples on how Kiddo is being used in other services and some suggestions for how you can get your educators on board, because that's key for the sustainability of Kiddo and physical literacy in your service. It's not what you do in the next few months, it's making sure that you can continue it into the future. Okay, let's jump into it. So the problem, many of you will be familiar with the Australian Early Childhood Development Census. This is a measurement of children's wellbeing and development in their first year of full-time school. It's done around the country every 3 years, with the last measurement being in 2024, in which we received the results earlier this year. And it wasn't good news, okay? There's 5 different domains being measured. So physical health and wellbeing is one of those, social competence, emotional maturity, language and cognitive skills, and communication skills. In the colourful table in the top right, you can see the percentage of children who are classed as developmentally vulnerable. And physical health and wellbeing in particular showed a large decrease in the number of children on track in 2024. And you can see some Western Australian data, and you can look this up on the website. If you're from New South Wales or Tasmania, you can find your state specific data on the website, but you can see across all the different domains, there was a large decrease in the number of children on track. Now, when we think of physical literacy and kiddo and gross motor skills, we typically might just think of physical health and well-being, and that it only affects that domain. But I want you to think for a second about an educator playing a game of What's the Time, Mr. Wolf, in the outdoor area with the children. As the children take part in this activity, they're developing their dynamic balance as they start and stop and change directions. They're developing their locomotor skills as they run and jump and walk. But they're also developing their social skills. They're taking part with others, okay? Going in group activities, following instructions. They're developing those emotional skills of self-regulation as they learn to follow directions and to be chased and to be tagged and to win and to lose. Their language and cognitive skills are developing, okay? As they're using that language, they're counting how many jumps or steps they're going forward or backwards or under or through, and they're developing those communication skills and general knowledge. Okay, so really, physical literacy affects the whole child. It goes across all the different domains of the Australian Early Childhood Development Census, and it can play a key role in helping children are on track with their development. So I'd love you to take that away from today's webinar, thinking about how physical literacy helps the whole child. It's not just physical health and well-being. And this slide really says it all. So this is based on the latest research on what the benefits of fundamental movement skills in the early years have on the whole child. Okay? Fundamental movement skills, we often talk about gross motor skills in early childhood education and care, which are the movements of the large muscles of the body. Fundamental movement skills are a subset, so they're part of gross motor skills, so we can use them a bit interchangeably. We often refer to them as the basic building blocks of movement, so things like run, jump, throw, catch, balance. These are all fundamental movement skills, and the research is very clear. There's been a lot of research in this area that children who develop their fundamental movement skills are a lot more likely to be physically active throughout their life. But there's a lot more than that. Fundamental movement skills improve emotional self-regulation. They support mental health. Children are less likely to be anxious or depressed. They help with those cognitive skills and problem solving, as well as focus and concentration. So they help with learning. They improve social skills, as my example of What's the Time, Mr. Wolf. Generally, when children are participating in physical activity and gross motor activities, they're doing them with other children. So they're learning how to play alongside others. They're developing self-confidence as they have a go at throwing or climbing or catching. They realise what they're capable of doing and build their confidence to do that. So it's really important that we build physical literacy into our programs and plannings to really have positive impact on the whole child. So I'm going to hand over to Julia now. Hopefully you have a strong reason for why physical literacy is important, and Julia is going to take you through the practical aspects of programming and planning.
Thanks, Amanda. All right, everyone. So we've just spoken a lot about why this is important, but what I'd like to speak to you about next is how to incorporate this into your everyday programming and planning. How is this going to actually look on an everyday basis in your service from a director or an educational leader's perspective? So we're going to have a look at the centre level planning. So thinking about the national quality areas, the early years learning framework and your quality improvement plans. Thinking about your curriculums and your planning for each of your rooms. So incorporating it into your short term and your long term programming and planning. Thinking about planning for your indoor and outdoor environments, how to intentionally teach and incorporating that active play, and also the delivery in your room. So how is it actually going to look when your educators are delivering this? So that's going to be thinking about the teaching and learning experiences and also using the common skill language when we're teaching the fundamental movement skills. So we're all using the same language for consistency. So before we jump on in, I just wanted to have a look. This is hot off the press, the National Quality Standards from Q2 in 2025. This is a snapshot of the WA services and how they're tracking against the National Quality Standards. We're going to focus in on quality area 1, but I really want you to just keep in mind KIDDO maps across all 7 quality areas. So when we go through today, just keep in the back of your mind, it's not just specific to a couple of the quality areas, it maps across the whole lot. So if we have a look, quality area 1, we're going to focus on this one today because, as you can see, it has the largest percentage of WA services that are working towards the quality standard area 1. So we've got 12% that are still working towards the national quality standard. We've got 83% that are meeting it, and we've got 5% that are in the exceeding bracket there. So we're going to focus on quality area 1 and have a look at how you can use the KIDDO resources to support you in quality area 1, which is educational program and practice. So you can see here for some of the subpoints of quality area 1, we have put some big pink ticks next to them. And these are the ones that we're going to focus on in relation to how the KIDDO resources can support you in these areas. And this is going to be information that you can pop into your quips. So we're going to have a look at intentional teaching. responsive teaching and scaffolding, child-directed learning, the assessment and planning cycle, and also information for families. And as we go through these, we will connect them to some of the resources that you can see here that KIDDO provides. So let's jump on over and have a look a little bit more closely. We're going to start off with the intentional teaching. So for the intentional teaching, this is really where the KIDDO teaching and learning experiences come in. So these teaching and learning experiences are experiences that we've created, or you can create your own, but they are going to give you the intentionality behind teaching each of the fundamental movement skills. So a real structured, purposeful way of teaching and consolidating each of the fundamental movement skills. So a teaching and learning experience, you can see we've got the active movement song, the invitation to play. We've got 1 to 2 activities where we can teach the skill and consolidate and explore it. And then we've got the guided active play where children can explore in their own time environments that you've set up that allow them to practice and consolidate that skill. So intentional teaching is the intentionality that is provided when we use a very structured teaching and learning experience. So that is intentional teaching. If we pop on over, we've got the responsive teaching and scaffolding and child-directed learning. So this is really where encouraging active play with your children in your service and prompting come in. So prompting is using open-ended questions to respond to children's ideas and play and really extend upon their learning and their ideas with these open-ended questions. So things like, how fast can you run? Can you go forwards? Can you show me how to do that? What do you do with your arms when you're balancing? So it's meeting the children on their level with their ideas and really responding to them and engaging on their level. And this is where we can scaffold their learning, because we can use these questions to help them get to the next point in their skill and development. And when we think about the child-directed learning, we can really give the children agency and a voice. They're getting choices in their learning, because you are inviting them to extend upon their learning with these open-ended questions. This is such a fantastic resource, not just for teaching physical activity. Prompting is a wonderful, wonderful way to extend and build upon children's ideas and learning across your whole curriculum. And it's so easy. So that's responsive teaching and scaffolding and child-directed learning. We have a look on over at the assessment and planning cycle. So this part of Quality Area 1 is really supported through the KIDDO Milestone Observation Tool. So this is a tool that you can use on KIDDO, where you are going to observe and assess where individual children are at. So we've got an example here of Sally. So Sally's been exploring the skill of throwing, and we want to see where she's up to in the development of that skill. So we have a look at these question prompts, which we're going to build a picture of how she's going. So you can select not yet, exploring, or achieved based on each of the elements of the skill. I'm not going to go into this in too much detail today, because we will do a webinar that's very specific to the Milestone Observation Tool towards the end of November. Amanda's going to pop a registration link in the chat box for you to refer back to later if you'd like to register for that one. But the Milestone Observation Tool is really going to help you assess individual children, and that's going to inform your future planning for how you the next step in your programming to be able to support that child in their development. The milestone observation is going to give you an automated generated report. And this report can be used to also share with families. So you can give families an idea of what their children have been learning and also where they're at in their development. So The milestone observation tool is going to give you a fantastic resource to include in your assessment cycle and to really inform your future planning. So, information for families as part of Quality Area 1 still. So this is really where the Kiddo Parent Hub comes in. So this is a portal where parents get to see what their children are doing within your service, see the skills, see some of the activities. You can share the milestone reports with families through the Parent Hub. So parents are really involved in children's learning and development, which is really, really important. We haven't met a lot of parents or any parents that haven't given us amazing feedback about the Kiddo Parent Hub. So a really fantastic tool. I will just say make sure you get parent consent first before you sign them up. There is a template consent form in the Kiddo resources section that you can use. So that's Quality Area 1 and a subset of information for families. What I just want to show you here, I know you can't read it that well, but this is an example. This is actually for Quality Area 2, but it's an example of how to incorporate everything that you're doing with Kiddo and the resources and physical literacy into your quality improvement plan to help you achieve those exceeding themes. So this is just an example. Again, just remember you can do this for all 7 quality areas, but we're just focusing on a couple of examples today in Quality Area 1 and 2. So here we've got some evidence that we've gathered that we've been using in our everyday practices to support the exceeding themes of practices embedded in your service operations. It's informed by critical reflection and you're engaging families. So everything that you have just done in relation to Quality Area 1 and all of those things we just looked at, you can then take all of those things that you are doing, all of that information, and incorporate it into your quality improvement plan. This example is available in the resources section again, so you can have a look at that in greater detail later and get some ideas. So let's have a look at more of an everyday level with programming using Kiddo. How can you embed Kiddo into your programming? So this is really, really important because we know how fast-paced the early years settings can be, and there are so many different competing priorities for your time and attention. So it's really important that we embed this into our planning so that when the day gets really busy, it doesn't get lost and forgotten about. So when we're thinking about incorporating it into your planning, think about your short-term and your weekly plans. So include it in the rhythm of your day. A lot of services like to include it just after morning tea. And you can give it a name if you like. You could call it Kiddo or physical literacy, movement, whatever suits your service best. But it's there as part of an everyday part of your routine in your service. Also thinking about planning for setting up your indoor and your outdoor environments. If you're focusing on the skill of balance, for example, think about incorporating into your plans how to set up your indoor and your outdoor environments to support the children to explore and consolidate their balance skills. Make sure you reference what skill you're doing. So, for example, balance, and also thinking about your common language. So using those cues, those teaching cues to teach the skills, incorporate that into your planning too. And then having a look at your long-term curriculum. So that's making sure that you have explicitly referenced how you're going to roll out those fundamental movement skills across the year. So making sure it's planned and structured. So let's have a look at a little bit more detail for these. So this is just a really nice example of a weekly planning sheet for a toddler room. This is just an example. You can adapt this to suit your services planning. We just like giving you examples and ideas. So this is for the domain of the learning domain of physical. We've got our connections to the EYLF, the developmental milestones, and the National Quality Services, National Quality Standards. We've also got our learning experience and possible opportunities. So you're referencing the skill you're focusing on, which activities you're going to be doing, and also giving some ideas for transitions. So thinking about those incidental opportunities to incorporate the skill into your day. So instead of asking the children to stand up and walk over to their water bottles or their hats, you could invite them to put their arms out and eyes forward, balancing along the blue line to get their water bottles. It's got reference to how to set up the environment. So, again, thinking about the indoor and the outdoor environments, how are you going to set them up to support that balance skill? So, making it really explicit so you can see indoors, we've got some cushions, tunnels, some tape to make an obstacle course. So, it doesn't matter who's teaching in the room, and if somebody's away sick or you've got a casual educator in for the day, it's right there in your planning. So they know exactly which skill they're focusing on, which activities they're doing, and how to set up the environment. We've also got in there those intentional teaching strategies. They're the prompting questions. So extending and building upon the children's learning with those open-ended questions. And we've got the language that we use in there to teach the skill of balance. Aeroplane arms, eyes up, looking forward ahead of you. So everyone can remember how we teach it using the same consistent language. And we've got the reflections in there as well. What worked, what didn't, and your future planning. So just a nice example there. This is a photograph of the fundamental movement skill poster that I'm sure most of you are very familiar with. So these have the common teaching cues that we're going to use to teach each of these fundamental movement skills. Remember, we're going to focus on one at a time for a period of around 4 to 6 weeks. Doesn't mean you can't do the other skills. It just means you're being really intentional and purposeful and structured in focusing on each of the skills so children can consolidate their learning and development. So remember, we start with balance because that underpins all of the other fundamental movement skills. So how is all of this going to look at an everyday level in your rooms? So that's thinking about the kiddo teaching and learning experiences. And for an example for pre-K and kindergarten, we're going to have a look at catching. So for catching our teaching and movement, our teaching and learning experience, we're going to start with our active movement song, invite everyone to come over and join us. We're going to do musical catches where we play some music, and when we stop, we're going to ask everyone to do 3 small throws and catch up in the air, or move the ball around their body. We can then go on to cat and mouse. Everyone sits in a circle and the balls, the cat and the mouse, they chase each other, and we can weave a lovely imaginative story with lots of literacy skills in there as well. And then at the end, we've got our guided free play where we're going to have lots of balls of different sizes, maybe some bean bags set out in our environment so children can explore the skill and consolidate their learning in their own play. For toddlers, a teaching and learning experience, you are going to be doing so much of this already in your toddler rooms. So this is just really about putting that intentionality behind what you're doing. So again, the same structure, the movement song, two activities, and our guided free play. And this is an example of a teaching and learning experience from KIDDO. We've got our learning intentions, our links to the EYLF and the NQS. You can copy and paste these into your programming and planning. We really aim to save you time. And I'm going to hand over to Amanda now. She's going to give you a tour of the website to give you some of these tools.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you, Julia. I think you can see the many opportunities for building KIDDO into your programming and planning to make sure it's sustainable in your service. Okay, let's jump onto the KIDDO website. I'm going to share my screen with you. And go on here. Here we go. Hopefully you can see the KIDDO website. Now, these are the rooms. So I'm on John Street Early Learning, and I've set up my room. So you can see we've got toddlers, kindergarten, nursery, and pre-kindy. This is what we call the dashboard of the Kiddo website. So when you first log in, if you're a Kiddo member, this is what you see, your dashboard. Over here on the left side, this is a key starting point, getting as many staff as you can to complete the certificate of physical literacy. Remember, you have a short course, which is just 30 minutes, which is great for casual staff or as part of an onboarding process. I would encourage you to complete the full certificate of physical literacy down the track, because that's the one that's been proven to increase educators' confidence and delivery of physical literacy. Um, Now, over here on the right, in the top right of the screen, there is this cog icon, and this is what we call the management menu. So I'm going to go across the management menu now. You might not have access to the management menu. The only people who have access are the people who've been allocated the manager role in your service. So if you have the manager role, you'll have a cog icon and you can access all the rooms. Having the manager roles means you can add new rooms, you can add staff, and you can access this management menu. So this is your starting point. If you're new to Kiddo or you're just getting back into it, the first thing you need to do is set up your rooms. So click on rooms and you can add your rooms in. You can give them whatever names you like, and then add your staff in. I know we've got on the webinar today, we've got people at family daycares and people from child and parent centres. So there's lots of different ways you can set it up to support your organisation and how you're structured. But really important, set up your rooms and your staff, because until you do that, the rooms is where all your teaching and learning experiences are. If you want to have a look at a snapshot of the program across all the different age groups, you can click on programs and you can see it takes you here through 3 to 5 years. Julia talked about those 6 skills that we introduce. In early childhood, 0 to 5 years, and so these takes you through the programs that are scheduled into the Kiddo website. But you can customize these. For the babies and toddlers, we just expose them to a range of gross motor skills. It's obviously not age appropriate for them to be learning to kick and catch, although there is lots of throwing. They love throwing from a very early age, and lots of ball play in there, but it's a whole range of different skills within the programs. So that's a bit different. But once the children reach 2.5 years, we're intentionally teaching each of these skills for a 4 to 6 week period. Okay, so this is your management menu. We want to go back to the dashboard. At any time when you're not in the dashboard, just click on dashboard and that will take you back to all your rooms. We might have a look at one of the rooms today. We'll have a look at the pre-kindy room, the 2 to 3 year olds. So I simply click on dashboard and that will take me to that room. You can see there's also a drop down menu up the top here where I can easily switch between different rooms. And because I'm a manager, I have access to all the rooms. Now, we call this the overview dashboard. And what you see in here is a bit of an overview of your current program. So you have your weekly teaching and learning experience. At the moment, we're focusing on the skill of kicking, and we're in week 2 of a 6-week program for kicking. You can view the experience here. So let's have a look what we're doing for kicking. We've got our learning intentions, what equipment we need. We always start with a song. If you're happy and you're not, I think most will be familiar. Then we're going to play Score a Goal, and it takes us through how to play, simple 3 steps, and variations of physical literacy tips. And then for the 2 to 3 year olds, we just do one activity and we finish with guided free play. So we've got all the balls out, let's kick them around and throw them and engage in play using those prompting and role modeling skills. Each day you also get an indoor and an outdoor activity. But first I'm going to jump into programs. So this is where you'll see your programs that Kiddo has developed that are scheduled in for you. You can scroll down on the right side here to see all the different ones. Some of these have been developed by Kiddo and others have been developed by other users, you can see here. Okay. You can able to print these out. So if you're a hard copy person, you can easily print out a program. So I'm going to show you a program I've printed out. This is the balance program for 2 to 3 year olds. You can see it takes you through the 6-week program, which has a song, an activity, and free play. For any of those new to Kiddo, a few of the definitely most popular activities: hula hoop car trip, friendly pixie, musical balances, are all in this program. So that's a really nice, easy way to see the program at a glance, and with the learning intentions there that you can copy into your programming that you do. Everything we do at Kiddo, we actually want to save you time. We want to make it easier for you to deliver physical literacy. So once you learn your way around the website, we really hope it's going to save you time with your programming and planning. It's all there for you. And if you have any suggestions for us on how we can make it even easier, please get in touch. Kiddo's been developed alongside early childhood educators. It's all your ideas that have been built into this platform to make it easy for you. Now, down the bottom here, you'll see our program schedule. So you can see in September, we were doing jump, and then we moved on to kick, and then we're moving into balance. Now, you might go, oh, I've already customized this. If you might go, oh, I want to change this up. So you simply click this customize button and you go, I don't want to do catching next. The children aren't quite ready for that. We really need to revisit balance. So you simply drag and drop balance into the calendar, and then you're like, oh, I might want to do jumping. So you can drag and drop. I want to start the year. So you can easily drag and drop your programs in here. You can also create your own programs. So you might say 6 weeks is a bit too long for us to focus on one skill. I'm going to create 2 to 3 week blocks focusing on a skill. Simply create the programs through here. And that's your homework for today. We want you to create a teaching and learning experience and create a program, okay, on the Kiddo website. Have a play. You can't break it, I promise. No one has managed to yet. If you change your mind to say, I'd like to go back to the Kiddo program, simply click revert and it goes back. And this, what's in the program is what shows up on that overview dashboard. Okay, so that's programs. We're now going to go to the experiences tab. So this is where we find all those weekly teaching and learning experiences. We have the box up the top, which is the custom ones that we've created ourselves. Okay, and down here we have all the ones that Kiddo have created. So we might want to look for a catching one. You simply type that and you can see the catching experiences that have been developed. You can view the experience, you can print and download them. So I've downloaded a balancing one earlier. So this is what it looks like when you download it. It takes you through what equipment you need, gives you an overview of the activities you're doing, and then it takes you through each of the activities. So if you don't have a tablet or something to access in your rooms, you can have this all printed off. And as an education leader, providing this for your educators to take them through what they need to do, especially if you have casual educators, it makes their life a lot easier. It has everything that they need. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to create an experience now. As you become familiar with the Kiddo activities, Amanda's amazing experience, amazing TLE, okay, and we might focus on throwing. Ooh, helps if I can spell. And you can choose to share it with all the different rooms in your service, or you might just want to keep it to yourself. For those who know me, choosing a song is probably the hardest bit. But I am a Peter Coombe fan, so that would Run, Run, Run is always one of my first choices. And then we choose our skill. And so the skill you choose will decide which activities then show up that you can choose from. So we want to choose overarm throwing. Simply click next and choose your activities. I can never go past friendly pixie. Um, I love that is definitely one of my favourite Kiddo activities. You can use for all types of skills and clean up the rubbish. You can keep going. It's amazing how many areas you can mess up and clean up by throwing plastic balls or scrunched up paper. Please don't let equipment be a barrier. So simply choose the activities, press save. You can see Amanda's amazing TLE is here. I can view it online. It takes me through how to play, my active movement song, and each of the activities. For a lot of the activities, and we're keeping on building this, there are videos as well. So that makes it even easier to see the video in action. So that's your dashboard, okay? We're going to, the other thing actually I should show you is the planner. So you'll see on the overview dashboard, there's a daily indoor activity and a daily outdoor activity that's provided for you. Now, as you become more familiar with the activities, so this is the calendar here, you can choose the activities yourself. So you might want to customize the outdoor activities that match your environment. So you can see the ones that are grayed out are from before today, so you can't change those ones, but anything forward of today you can choose. So you might want to put clean up the rubbish in there, and it just goes in there, chalk line jumps, copycats, and they're all your activities. And similarly, you can do the same with the indoor activities. So as you become more familiar, add the activities that your educators are confident with into your schedule. And when you go to your overview dashboard, those are the activities that will show up for the day. So from tomorrow, you'll see the ones I just planned in there. Okay, let's go back and have a quick look at some of the resources. So at any time when you're in the dashboard, you remember the cog icon takes you to the management menu. If you click on resources, that takes you to where all your skill, your activity database and resources are. So you'll see the skill information here, hundreds of activities you can search here, and your resources. So Julia showed you a couple of resources during her presentation. A key one is that how Kiddo is mapped to the national quality areas. Okay, so I would encourage you to download that. It has some practical ideas on how Kiddo helps you achieve each of those national quality areas, not just quality area 2 or 3, which you might traditionally think. I'm going to have a look for some of the other resources we've got. So this is another key one, an example quality improvement plan. It shows you exactly what it might look like in your quality improvement plan. And the other one I was showing you, which Julia went through, if you click on this one, you'll get weekly planning examples for babies, toddlers, and preschool rooms. So that just helps you get started with your planning. We're always adding to the resources on the Kiddo website. So look, I hope that's a really good overview. Like I said, explore the Kiddo if your website. Don't be afraid of breaking anything. We want you to have a go and be confident, and then you can support your educators to use it. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and go back to Julia, who's going to continue on with the presentation.
Amazing. Thanks, Amanda. All right, everyone. What we'd like to share with you now are just some of the key ways that we've found that have made kiddo and physical literacy really successful in ECEC services. So there's a few key things that our services do that makes it really, really successful and keeps it going consistently over time. So the first one is management support. So if your senior leadership in management is supportive of physical literacy and the program, that's going to make a huge difference. So thinking about providing staff with time off the floor to complete the professional development. So if you haven't come across it, there is a 30-minute certificate of physical literacy and a 3-hour certificate of physical literacy that's available on Kiddo to complete. So giving your staff the time to complete that. So they've got the skills and the knowledge and the confidence to be able to deliver the program in the rooms. So incorporating it into your staff meetings, such a good time to be able to have everyone together and to introduce a teaching and learning experience or a new activity. So it might be playing a game of cat and mouse with some balls in the staff room at the start of your meeting. So everyone's engaged and everyone's learning something new. So making sure again that physical literacy in kiddo is embedded into your centre planning and your reporting. That's going to make sure that it is a priority in your service because it's explicitly embedded and referenced into all of your planning. Thinking about as you bring new staff on board, making kiddo part of the induction process. It might be getting them to do the certificate of physical literacy. Some services have made their own PowerPoint presentations to introduce how they deliver kiddo in their specific services, and that's part of the induction for new staff. And also don't forget to include casual staff. So when you've got your regular staff on holidays or away sick or need to cover another room, your casual staff are also equipped with the skills and the knowledge to be able to deliver the program. So the 30-minute certificate of physical literacy, that's a really good one for casual staff to do. Doesn't take long, but they get lots of skills and knowledge. So management support is number one. Number two, kiddo champions. So kiddo champions are people within your service who are really going to drive and champion the kiddo program. So you want to think about somebody who's got or people that have got a good rapport with other staff members and are really good at influencing other educators in your service. Kiddo champions are going to need the time off the floor to be able to plan and support the program. They're fantastic to be able to mentor other staff and new staff. So they are the ones who are going to be able to know the program really well and role model the program. Kiddo champions are the ones who can use all the resources and pop them up around the service. So we talked about the common teaching language. So when we're teaching the fundamental movement skills using the same language, we've got lots of resources that the kiddo champions can go and put in each of the rooms so everyone knows how to teach them and teaches consistently. And kiddo champions, they are fantastic for engaging your families, giving them the information, getting them involved. So kiddo champions, we recommend at least 2 per service. Some services like to have a kiddo champion in every room or for every age group. So number 2, kiddo champions. Number 3, supporting your staff members to be able to deliver the program. So again, thinking about that onboarding process, how a new staff member is going to learn what physical literacy is, what kiddo is, making sure they've got a login to be able to access the website, being able to demonstrate also the website. If you've got staff that aren't able to be on webinars like this, we need to be able to build in a time and a structure for you to teach them how to use Kiddo. So making sure they've got the professional development, because that's going to give them the skills and the knowledge and the confidence to deliver Kiddo. Uh, Getting your casual staff involved again. So there's consistency. Remember, it's part of the daily rhythm. So we want all staff to be able to deliver the program. And again, supporting staff in the staff meeting. If you are making physical literacy and kiddo part of all of your staff meetings or a lot of them, then your staff are going to feel really supported to be able to deliver the program and also know that it's a priority within your service. So they are 3 key factors that are really, really important and really key in embedding and keeping the consistency in delivering the physical literacy program, kiddo. So when we do these 3 things, the impact that we see in educators are an increase in confidence. Educators aren't so afraid of physical activity. They are able to understand why they're doing something. So when they're setting up an obstacle course, they've got that intentionality behind it. They know why they're doing it because they're focusing on the skill of balance and they know how to teach that skill and consolidate it. So the educators themselves are a lot more active. So maybe instead of having more of a role that they're observing children, they're getting in there and they're being role models and they're prompting children to engage them and extend on their learning. And the last one, which I love, is educators are more intentional. So we talked a lot about the intentionality behind what you're doing. So when you're teaching those gross motor skills and then those fundamental movement skills, we're really intentional about it. We know why we're doing it and we're doing it in a really structured, deliberate way. So 3 awesome impacts that when you support your staff and your service, this is the outcome that you're going to see. So before we head off today, we would love to give you some examples of how all of this that we've just spoken about can look in everyday practice. So these examples are from Good Start Early Learning and Tapping, which is one of our Kiddo Exemplar services. So this is an award that we give to services who have demonstrated outstanding commitment to physical literacy and to kiddo. So fantastic way to give you lots of really sort of great ideas for your everyday delivery of the program. So let's just have a look a little bit more closely. What makes a Good Start Tapping an exemplar service? Kiddo is incorporated very much into their quality improvement plan. So they have research data for their area, they've identified a need, they've used Kiddo to address that need to increase physical activity and literacy in their area, and they have incorporated all of the things and all of the resources that they've been doing to address that need into their quality improvement plan and also to achieve those exceeding themes. So they prioritize professional development for their staff. So part of their induction package is KIDDO training. So they do the short course and then go on to do the long course of professional development. And they have designed also their own PowerPoint presentation to educate new staff about what the priority is and how to do it. So they have embedded it into their daily rhythm. I'll show you a photograph in a little minute of how they document KIDDO for their daily sort of practices, but they do it after morning tea. The staff know that after morning tea, it's movement time. The children know after morning tea, it's movement time. Very much part of their daily rhythm. So the KIDDO milestone tracker and reports are part of their summative assessment process. So they really use that tracking tool to observe and assess and plan for future learning and include those automated reports that the milestone tracker produces in children's portfolios as well. They've got some amazing KIDDO champions who mentor other staff and they really drive the program and the service. And Good Start Tapping are amazing at putting on all sorts of family and community days where they collaborate and communicate with families and their community around physical literacy and movement. So I'll just show you an example of how they incorporate their short, medium, and long term planning of physical literacy in KIDDO. I know you can't read that. There's just an example. Their short term planning looks at their sort of daily and weekly delivery, what skill they're focusing on, the activities, their learning intentions and their goals for the week, and also the setup of their environments of how to support the skill. Their medium term planning sets out what skills they're going to be looking at in that month, maybe identifying children that are going to be doing a sort of a more of a modified version if they need a little bit more assistance or they need something a bit more challenging. And then their long term planning. So they've got their quarterly goals. So this is where we set out in a structured way which skill you're going to be focusing on for that period of 4 to 6 weeks across the year. So just a nice example to show you of how a service has incorporated it into their planning. And this is their daily rhythm. So you can see here they have their morning tea and then they have their structured physical activity time and do their KIDDO activities. And they also link this to the early years learning framework and communicate it in a snapshot to their families. If I pop over to the next one, our family and community involvement, you can see all of the communication here that they have with families. So, really showing them what the children are doing in the service and getting them involved in that too. So, they give a lot of information about why it's important because, like Amanda spoke about, it's really important that we understand why we're doing something because it means we're more likely to keep going with it when we understand that it's important. So, some fantastic examples there from Good Start Tapping. As Amanda said in her demonstration, we would love for you to go away from today and create your own teaching and learning experience and even a program. So you could think about maybe what you've been doing in your service. Maybe you've done lots of obstacle courses lately. So maybe you've been focusing on balance. You might go in and do a teaching and learning experience and introduce some of those new activities from KIDDO that's going to give you that structure and intentionality behind what you've been doing. So give that a go. It's very, very easy and gives you a great outcome. Physical Literacy Week is coming up in November, first week of November. If you haven't registered, there is a QR code here, and Amanda's popped the link to register in the chat as well. This is Australia's biggest celebration of movement. You will get a free digital download with lots of pop up challenges during the week, and there's also lots of prizes up for grabs there as well. The upcoming webinar focusing on the milestone tracker and reports is going to be November 26th. This is going to be on the website, and Amanda's popped a registration for this. Again, you can sign up. If you can't make it, you will get the recording. So
Thank you very much, everyone, for your time today. I hope it's been really informative. If you have any questions, you can pop them in the chat. Amanda and I will stay on. And I'd just like to finish by saying it's one step at a time. We've given you so much information here today. Take one thing away that you think would really benefit your service and just work on that for now. And once you feel like you've mastered that, then try something new. We're here to help. If you've got any questions, email us at any time and we will support you to use the program. But thank you very much, everyone. If you pop any questions in the chat box, and have a lovely day.
Thanks, everyone. I'll give you a couple of minutes to pop your questions in, and otherwise you can leave if you're finished. Thank you. It's definitely the best advice that Julia said, though, the one step at a time. So it might be you start with one room or one educator, okay, and putting it into your daily programs, or it might be, and then down the track, your quality improvement plan. We hope we can see you as part of Physical Literacy Week, which is coming up from the 3rd to the 7th of November, and we're really excited about that. We've got over 350 services who have registered around Australia. Okay, we have a questions there. When adding educators, do we add their personal email or their service email? So ideally, if your educators all have service emails, you'd 100% use that. What happens when you add an educator is they automatically get an email to let them know you've added them, and they need to click on the link to activate their account. So a really good important point is to let them know that you're doing this so that they know to expect an email coming from you or coming from KIDDO with a link to click on to set up their account. If your educators don't all have service emails, you might need to use personal emails, as you do want each educator to have an individual account on KIDDO rather than just having a general service account, because that allows multiple people to be logged in and accessing it at the same time. I hope that answers that question. Does anyone else have any questions? No? Okay, if that's the case, thank you so much for joining us. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you've got questions or need some support. That's our job, to help you implement physical literacy across your services. Thanks, everyone.